This is just going to be a short update on the Johnny bucket mounted on a Sears Super 12. Here's the mount that I made for it. This mount is, this top plate is 1/4 inch steel and the bottom plate is too. The angle iron is a little bit thicker than 1/4 inch, but it's pretty close to 1/4 inch thick. And it's stacked 4 high. And then if you look back here, you can't really see it, but it's bolted together with a bunch of bolts. And then on the back, there's an opening that goes over the pin with bolts through it, and it clamps down on the pins, and all the weight is put on the front of the frame right there. I'm going to be adding turnbuckles from here back to here. I just need to remove them. They're on the front of the truck. And then I used the factory front plate and I mounted it to some galvanized angle iron. And I'm not finished with this mount. I'm going to grind it down, take all the bolts out and put Loctite on them and paint it. But it's been working pretty well. The only problem that I've had with it is this sticks out 4 more inches than the original mount would, and that takes a lot of weight off the back and puts a lot of weight on the front. And I'm running wheel weights, and I have the pressure pretty low in the tires. I'd like to make a about 200-pound 3-point hitch box, just a weight box for it, because it definitely needs more weight on the back. But what I'd like to do is have a 200-pound box on the back, have the tires filled with liquid ballast, front and back tires, because when you add weight to the back of the 3-point hitch, it's going to take weight off the front of the tractor, and then I could add weight to the tires, and it would save a lot of stress on the axle and all the steering components. But it's been digging really well for how little weight it has on the back. This pile I actually dug out with the bigger tractor, but here's where I dug into it with the Johnny bucket. And as you can tell, the problem was it lost traction. Here's where the tires spun. And another thing I need to fix is, the reason I'm making this video is because I turned it off and I can't get it to start again. The Johnny bucket runs the battery down too much. So I need to either replace this battery with a bigger one, or I need to look into changing this alternator or something. It seems to work just fine as a starter. It's just, it doesn't really work fine as an alternator. And I'd like to take, and this plate down here is where I'd like to end up putting the switches, because the Johnny bucket has plenty of extra wire with it. The wire comes up and all the way up here. I have some stuff back there because there was extra. So plenty of extra wire with it. And it's definitely built tough. If you look at this, it's really tough steel that they used. Can stand in the middle and the bucket doesn't bow at all. The one thing that I have noticed that isn't good is if you look at these bolts right here. They seem tight, but when I bounce on it, or when I jump on it, they move a little. So I think I'm gonna have to get a higher grade bolt for that, or tighten them up more or something. But this factory mount's been working really, really well. It can take just about any amount of weight that the hydraulic cylinder can lift. And then this back mount is built plenty tough enough for it. Now the only thing that I did do that wasn't very tough is I temporarily have 4 bolts here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I plan on having 4 on each side instead of 2 on each side. So that'd be 8 bolts total. And I'm using the factory bolts here. This steel is actually thicker than the factory steel, so it's going to take longer to wear because that's where the pin goes. So far it doesn't look like it's worn at all. And I've been using it all day today, so that's good. It is going to wear the steering pretty quick. I've noticed that. There's already more slack in the steering, so I'm going to have to look into getting that weight box on the back to take the weight off the steering. But other than that, seems to be pretty good. And I'm also thinking about this front axle. I might add, if you see that hole, then that hole on the other side, I might add a piece of threaded rod going across there so the axle can't bend. And then if it does bend, it would snap the threaded rod so you could tell if it were to bend. But I doubt it would bend enough to snap a threaded rod. And then you can tell the steering is still pretty tight. The loose part is where this thing goes in there. And this rod seems tight too. It's just that pivot right there where the grease fitting is. I'm gonna have to add more grease and stuff to it. But I don't like how I have it set up right now. I'm gonna change this a little, because I have seen other people break the front of their subframe on Craftsman tractors, not the Sears, but the Craftsman are the same, just with a bigger engine. And that definitely puts a lot of stress on that subframe right there. So by adding a link from here to here, it's going to take a lot of the stress off the subframe, and it's going to put it to the main frame and to this piece right here. So that's basically all for this update. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll answer. And if you're wondering about getting a Johnny bucket, they're definitely worth the money, and I'm going to be writing a review on their website, because I've heard people say bad stuff about them, but it's really not Johnny buckets that are bad. It's a tractor can't handle it, because with all that weight on the front, not enough weight on the back, and it doesn't really get any traction. So that's all for this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe.